or something last night. I don't know. Just actually, I got bored over the weekend. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I was like, I think I'm gonna shave my face. It's been a couple years and give it a let the skin get some color down there and
Exfoliate and
yeah, yeah. So, and then Friday I was supposed to go out and do some networking. And I was like, all right, well let me hold off. And then Saturday came, I was like, oh, I gotta go to this thing. And then Sunday I was like, I'm bored. So so I did the phases, where you it's like, all right, I'm gonna shave this little piece off or whatever. Took some photos, shave a little something else off. You know,
well,
I had the handlebars for a little while or whatever you call them, the
yeah,
chops.
that's a good
The,
look.
and
I'm sure
I
that's a
started
good
I
look.
started freaking ladies out, man. So I had to get rid of it.
Probably not in a good way either. That's the thing. It's
They're just not ready for that. What was that? The '70s or something? The porno in the '70s or something.
yeah, the stash, the big yeah.
I think that's coming back, man. I know a few guys that wear the short, '70s porn stash. Um, had a buddy of mine, and yeah, I ask him all the time when he's going to start his own OnlyFans site or page or
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't know about that.
If he starts it, man, I want to get be his manager.
You gotta you're gonna be the first subscriber.
I mean, you got to support your clients, man.
Fair enough.
you know. Um, but yeah, what have you been up to, man?
Just an honest man trying to make a living in a dishonest world. I don't know what
Yeah,
else to
yeah,
say.
yeah. That's true.
No,
That's
it's
true.
it's been busy. Tax season's on the wind down, and so that I kind of keep some oars in the water there, just because so many of my business clients ask over the years. So that was my my first big boy job getting out of the military. I worked with a business incubator helping set up minority and women owned businesses, and when it was tax season, all hands on deck dealt with taxes. There were
Yeah.
dozens of you know there's, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 employees, including there's an attorney, and a CPA, and
Right.
but everybody. So that was my exposure to taxes. It was, hey, log into this program and file these taxes, and I didn't know how to
I hate
spell
taxes.
IRS.
I think I did taxes on the 14th.
Well, down
April
well down
14th.
here in Florida, there's actually a delay, because or an extended period because of the impacts from the hurricane. So they just kind of gave a blanket to the state to May 1st, but a lot of people didn't know that, and so there was a lot of people scrambling and racing to get it done on the yeah, of course, on the
Oh yeah.
on
I
the on the 14th. Heck, I had people calling me on the 15th. Said
yeah.
your your crisis or your failure to plan is not my crisis. I
Like
I
you're
don't play
screwed,
that
buddy.
game.
Can't call me on the day it's due, brother.
Like
Ain't happening.
I don't know. I'm fond of saying there's no such thing as a mortgage emergency. Most of the time they're self-inflicted. It's something we've created, right? We create
Yeah.
our own problem, um, because lack of planning, lack of coordination, it's self-inflicted.
Oh yeah.
So
That's a lot of self-infliction, man.
yep.
The have you seen what's on a lot of the I don't know if you I'm sure you're on social media a lot. I think you doom scroll a lot.
I
TikTok.
don't scroll. I probably don't scroll a lot, but I have to program times to post and interact.
Yeah, the
I get,
requirement.
oh my god, no, it's and now, oh my gosh, social media. It's
I think
there's so
I think
many.
every three reels I see is some Chinese supplier.
I haven't seen that.
Oh my
I
god.
see the political posts. It's all these.
Oh my god.
Everybody's like, God, man. And if you say something like, I don't know, I believe you can like someone and not like someone at the same time. Life isn't black and white, it's nuanced, I mean, there's some things financially that I think the administration have really done a great job with, and then there's some things I think they're kicking it into the stands, and you can, you can think that, you can say, if freaking, you know I'm a libertarian, so but you can say, hey, good policy. I don't think the tariffs are a bad idea at all. I think that it was brilliant. A few things that have happened, the economy kind of say it like this, like tanking the markets
Mhm.
pushes money into the bond market, and it's what it's doing is it's going to create uh, a lower price, a lower cost for treasuries in 2025. Our federal government has to refinance about $9 trillion in debt. Okay, they got to refinance it, just like, hey, well, my loan's coming up and they got to refinance it. Well, the lower cost of the treasuries, that lower rate is going to allow them to refinance at a greater, at a better deal for the
Who the hell are they
taxpayers.
financing with?
That's how it works. They reissue treasuries, and so it's going to happen. It's going to be at a lower rate, so it's going to have a net impact of reducing the federal debt plus all of the spending and the cuts that have been made. That's the cumulative effect is going to be that our federal debt's going to go down. What's the biggest cause of inflation? Debt,
Mhm.
federal debt.
Right.
Our federal debt is one of the biggest causes of inflation. Inflation's the increases the cost of living
Mhm.
for people living here. It keeps the mortgage rates high. Inflation is the enemy of mortgage bonds. So effectively reducing the national debt's going to reduce inflation's going to you know kind of excite the real estate market. It's going to lower the cost of goods and services for everyone.
Oh yeah.
How's that a bad thing? That's freaking great news. It's going to create a more vibrant economy. Now I can say that on one hand, and on the other hand say, you know I 100% support the idea of closing the border
Mhm.
was a disaster,
Oh,
dangerous
did
for
you
our
hear?
country.
Did you hear what they did over the weekend? The Democrats
No.
are trying to take credit for the border.
What's that? Oh
They're,
yeah, yeah.
they're
No,
trying to
I
take
mean, I did.
credit for the border now. No, nobody's coming over now because I
Yeah,
saw that
because of
this
their
morning. I
great
was like,
policies. Yeah, but I mean, I can also say, hey, the border should be closed, but at the same time, blanket deportation of people who came here essentially under the invitation of the federal government. 'Cause that's what happened. They came here, and people came here. They left horrific conditions that validate, that I think asylum is a reasonable, not everybody. I'm not talking about everybody. Get something on my glasses. It's not everybody, but I think there's you can't blanket eject all of these people who came based on an invitation of the government. Now, obviously, you need to sift through them and you need to find out, hey, are you, do you have, if they got a work permit and they're working and they're paying taxes and they don't have any, they're not, no criminal issues, domestic violence or, DUIs or anything like that, no issues. They're not the problems. I think there should be a path to some sort of normalization of their status.
mm,
Um, it's what you know. Who is the greatest president in history that you can think of? Most conservatives would say Ronald Reagan.
oh
That
no,
was a plan from Ronald Reagan as well, you know.
I
But
think
to
Reagan
say
was
we're going to
terrible,
blanket,
man.
what's that?
I think Reagan was terrible. Reagan took all of Carter's fucking credit.
The old Gipper. But man, don't talk like a Georgian that you like Carter. Carter's a moron. But um, but my
Nah.
point is simple. My point is simple. There's there's no value in mass deportations. It's um, I think it's unethical. I think it's unethical because people came not to invade, and yeah, there are people who are here
Hmm.
with nefarious purposes. Guess what? They're not the ones getting picked up as readily. You know why? Because they're hiding. You know who's getting picked up? The people who are working and paying taxes and trying to
I can see
assimilate
that.
because
I
they're
can
out
see
in the
that.
community trying to assimilate and do the right things. So I can say, I believe, on the one hand, he, I think there's some great economic policies that are unfolding. Not all of them, but I think we'll see some good results. And yeah, the market crashed, for a minute. Great. You know what smart people are doing when that happens? Buying. Buy now. Hey, the market crashed. Oh, my 401k. Well, you're not retiring today, but your 401k is going to be screaming, like a freaking rocket going up when the economy booms because of these policies.
Hmm.
So I could say, hey, good, that, bad, in my opinion, bad immigration. Close the border, absolutely, 100%. Lock
Yeah.
down the border, lock down the freaking border, 100%. And then look for the bad guys, look for the criminals, look for the
Hmm.
problems, look for the people who are, you know,
Yeah.
who are creating discord.
Yeah. The I think that the biggest uproar is you talk about like stocks and stuff and buying. I think I think the biggest reason or the biggest cry out right now is the is the upper elite wealthy, the executives, the politicians. Like if there's a shit, what's there's actually a ticker, an index that supposedly follows like I think like Nancy Pelosi and some other people's
I've
stocks,
I've, se-
right?
I've seen that. Yeah, there's
If
something where you
if
can
you
mirror
look at
Nancy
it,
Pelosi's trades. Oh
if
my
you
gosh, yeah.
look at it
But
over the last
if you do
years,
that, you might get arrested for insider trading.
it goes up, right? If you look over like the last 5 years, it's always steadily like it kind of bobs and weaves a little bit, but it's steadily
Yeah.
climbing. And then if you look at around February, mid February, it starts fucking crashing. And so you wonder why all these politicians are all pissed off and disgruntled and all this mess is because all their guaranteed winning is out the door now.
Of course.
And all these executives and all this stuff you hear like, oh, these economists are talking about all this blah 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 blah. Like, no, that's these like capital venture companies hired economists that they tell them go on the news and say this.
Well, they do that, right? And that the like Bain Capital, there's several examples, and I don't remember specifically the companies. I think maybe one of them was Darden Restaurants, which is, an Orlando-based company they're the ones that own,
The
um,
Olive Garden.
they own Olive Garbage, and Red Lobster, and I mean, so like big name branded companies. But I think it was Darden. Bain Capital went in, and they were having a little bit of rough. They may still be having some rough, minutes, but they tanked the stock
Oh yeah.
by press releases that Bain Capital did. And then they came in and swooped in and bought. And there's a couple of cases where that's good old Mitt Romney, by the way, is Bain Capital. But
Yeah.
where they'll
Oh.
they'll intentionally tank a company, and then they'll come back and buy a controlling share, and then kind of have their way. I mean, that's vulture capitalism. I mean, that's not, and it's market
That's
manipulation, and that's where, listen, I'm a free market guy. Free market meaning don't try to, regulate the economy. You can't, leave it the hell alone as much as possible.
mm-hmm.
But stuff like that's market manipulation. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
there needs to be protections against monopolies. There needs to be protection against, or to enforce contracts, right? I mean, because Otherwise, someone will control the whole thing and they'll just do what they want to do. And
Yeah.
the problem is these guys buy their influence, right?
Oh
Who's
yeah.
going to enforce against them? Because although he's got an R after his name, he's not he's certainly not a Republican, Mitt Romney. I mean, he's a sweetheart of the Democrats. Why? Because he makes money for them.
Oh yeah, man. It would, like I said, it all goes up to the same suite at the top of the building, I guess you say. Um,
Right. Yeah.
well, it's all the same of those people in there, but I'm looking forward to, you see the loopholes and stuff from Mexico, Canada, China, and all these other stuff, and um, it's like like I said, I've seen a lot of stuff where there's these suppliers and things like posting regularly. I see it all the time, and some of them I think are BS. I think
Sure.
some of them are sort of middlemen and like, oh, where are these manufacturers? But you don't see anything but like shelves of crap behind them. And it's like, yeah. So I see a lot of that, and then I see these ads about these logistics companies, right? And it's so crazy. And then people joke, they're like, oh, I guess China just found Instagram like a month ago. And so they're just unleashing like all these videos. And there was a logistics group that I saw this reel about, and they basically were like unfolding like their whole business model is to circumvent the U.S. tariffs. Like they're like, yeah, we have offices in, Mexico, this and this and this, and they're like, oh well, we can get your goods, into Mexico, and,
Right.
and from there we can get them, into North America and all this stuff. And it's like, what? Like, holy shit! And like that's exactly what like Trump put his foot down. It was like, no, you're not. You're not going to import them into Mexico, then come into America, or have Chinese companies build manufacturing in Mexico, and not America.
Right.
And Mexico's giving them like a huge pass. Like all the stuff they let China do over in Mexico, and there's some money coming in from it, but it's like nowhere near what it could be. But yeah, like they're circumventing, and now you got Honda and Toyota and all these companies, and then some textiles are all like, oh, they're all going to come back and they're going to build
Right.
manufacturing. And if you look, like from seeing all these manufacturers in like India and China and all this stuff, like they only really like publicize these little manufacturers that have like a lot of human labor, right?
Right.
But these videos now that I'm seeing is like robots galore in China doing all the work. The people
Right.
aren't really
Yeah. It's not
working
even
anymore.
cheap labor anymore. It's
Yeah,
it's it's
it's
not it's not it's not humans.
they're manipulating pricing, and it's like, it's like, oh well, I can buy a T-shirt for $1 or two, and then
Right.
get it over here, and then but when you look at it like these manufacturers coming out and they're like, yeah, T-shirts, 0.5 cents, zero point 0.4 cents, or $4, $0.4 a shirt or whatever, and it's like
Right.
20, 30 cents a T-shirt, like, or whatever. It's like 5,000 pieces for $300 or something in a huge bag, and it's like, and so all that stuff is being built by robots, and so people are
Right.
like, oh well, who are you going to get to work for you? Everything's going to go up, and it's like, no, like if anything, they're going to bring all that crap over here and then throw robots in buildings over here, and they're just going to produce it here. There's going to
Right.
be a job increase, but it's not going to be like, you know,
And if anything, there's going to be a cost decrease
yeah.
for Americans because of the shipping. What's
Oh
the
yeah.
what's the expense of moving something from China to the U.S. is there's a lot of gas involved. You put it in a ship,
Oh yeah.
and there's manpower to put it in the ship, to take it off the ship, to you know crate it, and there's damage. There's goods that get damaged and things like that.
Oh yeah.
So
There's like containers all the time. I see this thing, like I saw this report where it was like the losses that happen on these ships and storms, where like people don't even
containers
think about
blow.
it. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, we lost like 30, 40 containers fell off the side of the ship. Like all that's in the ocean now, and they have to file claims, and
Yeah.
so there's money lost there. There's insurances and all this crap, and then
Yep.
customs and slowdown, and now we have to have like so many like federal workers and stuff working at the border to account for all this imports, which
And who
before,
knows, you know what the other thing is? There was a thing that I saw, God, when was it? Not long ago. But it was a guy was talking about, he was in the communication space. And no, I apologize, the grid space. I'm getting a lot of, so I'm like going into prepper mode because we're getting into hurricane season here in a, in a couple of months in Florida. And, so I got my Baofeng radios,
oh,
getting them programmed. They have NOAA and they're, you can tune into police and communicate. It's,
yeah.
you have to have a license, but you can communicate with, with EMS and police vehicles and stuff like that. And so I've got a pair of them, and but I've been research. Solar is a big thing, not solar panels you put on your house, but the from as little as the little small solar cell phone chargers to something that you can run a couple of household appliances with.
Hmm.
It's a battery. Basically, it's a battery that interfaces with solar panels, and I've got a couple of 50-watt solar panels that what I don't have is the box. It's the battery box, and what I've been doing is researching. Do I want to buy some lithium batteries and just make it myself, or do I want to? Because I have a 3,000-watt inverter that I can plug onto a battery.
You should just get those
Or
saltwater batteries or whatever they're doing. Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah,
it's a bigger
there's
battery,
so many
but
variables, but it's the point. So I'm starting to get, and you do that, and then you open up, social media, and that stuff shows up in your feed, right? So I saw this thing, this dude was talking about in during the first Trump administration, there were 6 of these huge, I don't know what if it's like. I don't know if it's a transformer or something, right? Something that's grid related, but this is not something that's going to be on the street block. It's something that's, where it's coming off of the generation systems, and they found 6 out of whatever X number that came in that had what do they call it? Not a wormhole, a rabbit hole. What do they call it? Where there's something in the code, a bit like a backdoor in the code,
okay.
that they were able to determine this thing could be manipulated remotely, and they were made in China. So there was
Mm.
a gap in the code that was it has a name. I thought you would know it, but because you look at you bald and no beard, right? So, but it's a thing where someone could like an opening where someone could get into the program and modify it, and let's say shut it down, or divert and cause an explosion or something like that. And the idea was that these are essential for our electrical grid nationwide. And Trump stopped them, said nope, no more from China, and they could only come in. They're more expensive apparently. Well, during the Biden administration, like 300 more came in from China, and so now you got to ask yourself, right? I mean, I worry about the grid, because I don't think the next 9/11, and whatever you want to say about 9/11, real, not real, whatever, but I don't think the next big attack is going to be an explosion. Well, I mean, it could be an explosion, but it's gonna be the grid. I think they're freaking gonna turn off the lights. I
Yeah,
mean, imagine.
I mean, that's the big thing now, where it's not like like a world war. It's not like a physical
Right.
combat.
There's not going to be tanks rolling across the plains of Iowa. It's going to be
I
rolling
mean,
blackouts across
they
the
already. I
country.
mean, you could, like you said, the other thing is like you could say what you want to say, but in my mind, in 2020, we were under a biological attack. You
100%
know,
agree.
so
100% agree. And I don't even know who the enemy was there, because I don't think it was China. I don't
I
think it
mean,
was China.
you
I
know
mean,
what?
China was complicit, but I think there's it ain't all China.
I mean,
right.
if without saying it, you could connect the dots where, you got
Hey, listen,
Biden,
I'm not gonna say
Biden
I'm
and his
gonna mute
people
myself,
hanging
and
out
I'm
with
not gonna
China, letting
say
them bring their shit back in, and
I'm not
you
gonna.
know,
Yeah, there's. Yeah, I don't want to get disappeared.
yeah.
But
Oh my
yeah,
God.
100%. There's more to this whole story.
Oh yeah.
What and I think you're right. I think 9/11 was an inside job.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
know,
It was an insurance claim against the building, and there was something else going on around that time where they were about to uncover something.
Rumsfeld.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
the day before 9/11, the Department of Defense announced that they couldn't find X, whatever it was, trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we can't find that shit. Then and apparently the random plane that flew into the Pentagon was it damaged exactly the part of the building
Yeah, and the
where
plane just
where
disintegrated.
those records
The
were
plane
kept.
disintegrated, remember?
Yeah, what plane? Right. You
It
know.
hit the building and disintegrated. All the rubber, the tires, everything. The huge engines just all
Right.
disintegrated.
Well, but
Um,
thank God they make passports out of more durable material than the black box inside the airplane because um, thank goodness that was it Atta or one of the terrorists passports was found in the rubble at the base of the World Trade Center. I mean, thank goodness for that. That was
yeah.
come on.
We couldn't
Come
find
on.
anything else, but there
That's
was a
how
passport.
is that possible?
This
And
paper and plastic
how
passport
do we
survived.
not look at little things like that? I mean, it's kind of I'm a Christian, and so it's kind of if you can find things in the Bible that are true, and there's essentially nothing in the Bible that's been disproved
Hmm.
in archaeologically, but then there's evidence of this and evidence of this and evidence of this. It's kind of the theory that, hey, if if I can spot check you know 5 points of information and those are accurate,
Hmm.
you start to think maybe the rest of the story is accurate. Well,
Oh yeah.
in reverse, talk about 9/11. If you can spot check points of the story and you're like, wait, that dog don't hunt. This
Oh yeah.
doesn't add
There's a
up.
lot
That
of
math
stuff.
don't math. What what happens? The rest of the story falls apart. The story falls apart. It's I mean, how could the passports be there? How could there was a fire captain on whatever floor was where the impact was, and it was like and there's recordings of this
Hmm.
talking to dispatch saying I'm on the 73rd floor, whatever the floor number was, and there are spotty, there's some area fires, but I think we're pretty much under control.
Yeah, I mean
And then
there was all
the whole
these.
building
Yeah,
collapses.
there was reports, and this. I mean, I haven't heard this in a while, but there was something about like 2 to 3 weeks leading up to the thing. They were doing. They had
The
like
false
different.
flag
They had
event.
they had different crews in the building doing structural inspections on the building, which some people relay to a secret demo team coming in and
Yeah, I hadn't heard about that, but
yeah, look that up if it's still out on the net.
the dude, the owners of the building put insurance on it for that specific type of event. There's so many
And the other
little
building didn't
things
even get hit by anything, just
that
imploded on
yeah,
itself.
the building was at building 7 that went down, right? Just sympathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh wow, those
Building
poor
seven was
buildings.
so upset the other two fell that it just wanted to collapse too.
Yeah, so none of it made a lot of sense.
Oh
And
yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
it goes to that's the point of what I'm saying is when you have data points like that that don't, I mean, not
Hmm.
only do they not add up, they're indications that something wasn't real, you
Yeah,
know.
maybe we can start. Maybe we can start a push, kind of how. Remember, Trump came in office and he said, you know what, I'm gonna cough up JFK stuff. I'm gonna cough up Martin Luther King stuff. Why don't he cough up the 9/11 information?
Yeah, I think it was fake. Hey, what
Cough up the
about this
9/11.
Bezos space capsule
Oh my
thing, Katy
God,
Perry. That dude,
that was like a High School Musical put together,
how
man.
can that? That was fake? There's no way that was real. Dude, they
So
opened the door and then they closed the door and then he used this special tool to open the door. How does that work? The other
then
thing
it then
is,
it
look at the
then it,
picture. Look at the
it popped open
picture.
like me and my brother's fort back in the bedroom with the
Oh,
cardboard.
yeah. But look at the picture where this thing came down, right? And it came down right in a puff of whatever, right? And there's flames. But when you look at the actual footage of Bezos opening the door,
Oh yeah.
there's literally right beside it, there's little shrubs and scrub brush
Oh yeah.
that's perfectly undisturbed.
Yeah, I mean, you would think like
They
something
would have had
like
a they
that.
would have had to it would have looked like there was a bonfire around it, or you know what I mean, or just
Yeah, there was so there was no. Well, first off, there was like when I saw it, like the first scene about it, it was like I kid you not, I saw like something popped up in my social, and it was like I literally it was like the spaceship was going off, and I was like, oh, this is one of those another one of those fake ass VR games, whatever that's supposed to be very realistic because you see it takes off and then it shows an image like there's just an imaginary camera in the middle of the sky watching a rocket in the middle of the sky take off. It's like what
right.
the hell? This looks like a video game.
I'm
And
trying to pull up. I can share my screen, right? Like,
yeah, yeah, you never hear about it, right? You got all these celebrities and stuff going off into space. There was like nothing leading up to it. It was just all of a sudden like, oh, these people went up into space on, Bezos spaceship Blue, whatever the hell it is. And then they come down, they get out, they look like they just came out of the damn dressing room. Well, looking all perfect, no stress, no hair
right,
weird or whatever. Like shit, not sweating, like they were just, you'd be hot, man. That thing would have got hot
right.
coming back in.
Well, and the guy, this thing just came through. Yeah, it should have been hot as heck. And the other guy, whoever it was next to him, puts his hand on the side of the craft.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, like the the
That's all
the,
I can
the,
say.
the people the people
Very.
in the craft, they couldn't have came out all dressed and clean and spotless like that. They would be kind of like sweating, like exhausted because if you see the other astronauts that went up in with SpaceX and came up and then they came back down and they landed out in the ocean, like they went out to get the guys and like they looked distressed, like they just got back from the gym or something, like. It takes a lot out of you coming into the
Right. Well,
atmosphere.
I'm looking up at my other screen.
So,
I'm looking for pictures of this thing. Like, let me see. Open open sesame.
oh, the
Oh
other thing
man.
was somebody did something about like the image out of the window or something. It was like Katy Perry and something out the window, and it was like someone was like, "This makes no sense of what the video is." They're like, "Oh, that's a TV on the outside of the window," because it made no sense of what it was. Um, yeah, so that was totally fake. I don't believe it at all. I feel like I feel like they did about as good a job back in the '60s when
Can you see my screen?
NASA went to the moon.
Can you see my screen or not?
Negatore.
Can
Let me see.
Oh, I got interference. Probably
Hold
because
on,
I'm
let
trying
me.
to stream. I was trying to do a screen share. Could you not hear me?
Yeah, let me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not.
Trying to slow you down
I
here.
was trying to do a
Okay.
screen share. I guess you didn't see it, right?
No, did you clicked on the?
I don't know. That's yeah. You could teach me later. But the picture of her kissing the ground, Katy Perry kissing the ground in front of this craft,
Yeah.
and you can see like it's there's little they're like the tumbleweed scrubby
Send me the
plants.
link real quick.
Like I just closed it because it was that page was trying to screen something. I'm sorry, stream something, and let me see
Katy
images.
Perry.
It's this one. I'll send you. I'll send it to you right now. Hold on. Cool your jets.
I think
Literally.
I found it. Kisses the ground.
I think it was creating interference because it was trying to. Here's one. Check your secret message system. WhatsApp. And then this one. I mean, this thing. Hold on. There, I'm sending you a second one. But you look at those things, and there's no freaking way there's no way that thing came down on an impact and didn't blow those tumbleweeds away. That makes sense. I can't see. I don't see how that's possible.
Oh yeah, there's. Let's see if I can.
I mean, I'm not a hater, right? Like, yeah. Look around. Look at the little plants on the ground around it. Those little scrubby, those are things that blow up, that blow away. Those are the things that you're seeing, roll across the freeway when you're driving out there.
Well, they came
They're
down
tumbleweeds.
With
Okay, that doesn't mean it. You ever come down with a parachute? You're not wafting down like a feather. You're still coming down.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming down, but the thing that, like I said, for me, is like they all come out perfect.
Well, how about the fact that the door opened and then they closed the door before? Think about that. Like, you've seen that, right? You know what I'm talking about? Look at the clip before Bezos opens the door with the tool.
They open it up before Bezos can, and they're like, "Oh, close the door, close the door."
Yeah, someone from the inside opened it. This thing that can't be opened from the inside, right?
I mean, apparently it can.
Apparently it can.
But there was a difference. So, like, somebody did a comparison between this one and then and an older one.
Yeah.
Where like they opened the door. And it was like opened, and it was like heavy coming open. Like this door just kind of was like,
yeah. It looks like you said, it's like a fort, like a little blanket fort,
prop.
Yeah.
And
I'm not sure I believe that, but it's like, yeah. So what? There's so many things we don't believe. Where do you start the list?
The one thing that they don't have is like, Blue Origin landing. Like, I don't think there's like a straight, the whole time feed.
See, look at that landing. You see what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. How does that not blow away the vegetation underneath all around it? And then there's things literally like leaning on it. There's tumbleweeds leaning on it. Come on. That's so CGI. That ain't real.
See, this is a capsule that came out of space.
Yeah, it's like dirty, right? It looks like it looks abused. It looks like it got singed, because that's what happens. They get singed.
Yeah, this is. I can't speed it up, but that's the thing, is you don't have any. There's no footage of like a complete touchdown and people drive up, people coming up. Like,
right.
It's
right
there. It landed, cut away, come back. There's a lot of people there.
I mean, look at how clean it is. Look at how clean the craft is. After going, re-entry, it's gonna get singed. There's gonna be burn marks on it. It's on fire when it's going through there. You ever see that? I mean, So I don't know. Hey,
Yeah,
bro, listen. I actually have other stuff to do today. I know it's hard to believe. I know you probably don't think I actually ever work,
yeah.
but sometimes I do. And
This guy never works.
it's one of those, huh?
This guy never works over here.
I try not to, but sometimes it catches me.
You gotta show me how you do your OnlyFans, man. I need to.
Man, it's I've got listen, I've got one right here. Hold on. Can you see it? That's my that's the thing. That's what I'm selling is OnlyFans. That's the concept, right?
Like the one where it's like, oh, you made all this money just from fans? Like, yeah, only fans. Like, wow, all
Exactly.
your fans?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, my brother. Well, now that we've solved all the problems of the world,
yeah, yeah.
hey, you know what? You know what I want to talk about? And I'm gonna keep using. So in this, I've got this is mostly water, and this is whatever. How many ounces is it? Um, a lot. It doesn't say on here. I guess it's a Yeti, the big Yeti, you know, um, thing.
Yeah.
That I put a half a tablespoon of baking soda once a day in that. Shake it up. Um, and then I'm also putting a pinch of Baja Gold sea salt, and so the baking soda, as I'm reading and understanding more, is supposed to remove inflammation. I just started doing it. I literally bought a big bag of, so it's not being used for anything else because, it's like I don't want the one that's in the refrigerator, to absorb the odors, right? So I have a sealed heavy duty bag of it, but it's with nothing, no other ingredients, but it's supposed to remove inflammation from your body. There's apparently a family of health benefits associated
Hmm.
with that, and the salt is increases your hydration at a cellular level, and so I want to kind of that'd be interesting to talk a little bit about. So
Put
read
some
about
turmeric in
that.
it there, man.
Um,
Turmeric. Throw some turmeric
turmeric,
in
yeah,
there.
turmeric, and what's the other? Ginger, big
Ginger,
anti-inflammatory.
lemon,
Um,
turmeric. Yeah.
honey is a natural antibiotic.
Yeah.
Apparently, honey and garlic, if you ferment them together, like you put it in there, um, a handful of cloves of garlic, cleaned, like
Hmm.
in and put them in honey in a glass, supposedly a glass container, and leave it on the counter, and after a day or whatever, flip it over, and after a day again, flip it over, and it starts to ferment. And I don't remember how long that's supposed to take, but supposedly that product
Hmm.
has is as good an antibiotic as antibiotics.
Oh yeah.
So interesting. I mean, there's so many. I'm starting to kind of. I'm you know, it's the prepper thing, right? It's all those different things of like, you know, hey, but I will
6
tell
months
you,
survival.
I bet you the next major issue is going to be grid related.
Yeah.
And with no grid, if the grid fails, where's the water come from? Do you have running water? If the water treatment plant down the street isn't working, right? I
Well,
mean,
they're trying to. They're trying to push for a big, huge spending bill for the U.S. electric grid because they're like, oh, well, you got these like 10 gigawatt facilities. Like, how are we going to power all these 10 gigawatt AI facilities?
right, right.
Well,
Well,
the
and our
truck.
grid is old. The electrical grid is old. It's also very susceptible.
Hmm.
But I think they're gonna, any upgrades. These upgrades are all,
They're talking
you
about
know,
fusion plants now. I don't know what that means, but something
yeah. I
fusion.
mean, all I can say is I think my advice is have a freaking plan. Start
Yeah.
start getting a plan together. And we've got the camper. That's
My,
and
my
go.
plan is my plan is move to an island somewhere.
You know, You know, it's kind of like the how do you outrun a bear? Well, you don't have to outrun a bear. You just have to run faster than the other people that the bear is chasing also.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know? So can you ever have enough? Well, you could plan, but you might not have enough food supply. Yeah, but if I outlive the other people who had some food supply, I can take theirs. They're not going to need it if they didn't survive, you know? So,
Yeah.
and no, I'm not threatening any sort of violence. I'm just saying that you don't have to create you don't have to be able to survive forever. You just have to just be able to survive long enough.
Yeah.
I have a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire as well.
Here you go, man. Bust it out.
Reference Walking Dead Negan for
There you go.
anybody who doesn't know. You should watch it. It's
I
good
never
survival.
watched it, man. Never got into it.
Bro,
No, man.
what is wrong with you?
I
When-
never got into the
that's-
Dead Walkers, you know.
Rosie and I watched the entire series together in English, and that's the first. That's where her first attuning her ear to English came from.
Yeah.
It's a
Just pick
it's
up
a it's
zombie
a
talk.
language learning technique that I learned when I was learning Spanish. It was just listen to as much Spanish as you could. You know, listen. Doesn't matter if you don't understand a thing. You start to pick up little bits and pieces,
Yeah.
and that's how I started learning Spanish. Never took a class. I speak basically fluently now, so
Yeah.
it
Live on- work on
works.
the streets.
So watch The Walking Dead in Spanish. That's my advice, Baldy. All right, peace out.
All right, man. I'll see you
All
later.
right, take care. Bye.
Bye.